The world isn't actually shrinking, but sometimes it feels like it. News travels faster than ever, international travel is increasing, and more business is done on a global scale. 25 years ago, there were 7,000 transnational companies. Today, there are over 60,000. The largest earn more each year than most of the world's countries. The world's big problems are getting bigger too. 1 billion people live on less than $1 a day, and there are more and more mouths to feed. Today, the world's population is around 6.5 billion. By 2050, it's expected to be 9 billion. And the biggest increases are happening in countries with only the most basic health and education services. Meanwhile, global warming is set to increase. Water shortages are already affecting some areas. So what's the connection? Is there a connection? Does big business have any role in helping to tackle these big issues? This group of international business leaders are meeting to talk about just these issues. Their companies are members of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and the Council has brought them together under the title of the Tomorrow's Leaders Group. Their co-chair, John Manzoni of BP, says they all agree that they cannot ignore the world's major challenges.
There's a common understanding among the people around the table in this project that business is good for society. You know, all the basics. We employ people, we pay taxes, we produce goods and services. These are all good things for society, and we deeply believe, otherwise we wouldn't be engaged in them, that these are good things. The question, though, is that there are more complex questions being raised. What of poverty, and what is the role of business in poverty? What of the environment, and how do we create a more sustainable future? How do we operate in an increasingly globalized world? These are much more difficult questions, which I think global companies are equipped and should be beginning to answer. And that's really the essence of what we're doing in this project.
The Tomorrow's Leaders Group believe the first step for companies facing up to challenges such as poverty and the environment is to understand how the issues affect their own businesses. The group are agreed that they cannot solve problems purely by giving money away, by philanthropy. Any lasting project has to make a profit, so the group believe the next step for progressive businesses is to take the world's toughest problems and turn them into business opportunities.
How can we, as a company, in the long term, create value for our shareholders, while at the same time helping society to develop in a stable and healthy way and be successful? This is obviously in Latin America a very critical question, because there is a lot to be done, and lots of times we coexist close to poor neighborhoods where there are deficits in education, in health, in access to water, to food, etc. So we always try to identify win-win strategies that benefit local population and the company.
The Tomorrow's Leaders Group have produced a report listing scores of examples of businesses which have found opportunities to make profits while addressing global issues. Some are providing basic services such as water and energy in developing regions. Some are producing vaccines for growing populations. Others are delivering cleaner products at a profit while reducing their environmental footprint. The next step in the Tomorrow's Leaders vision is to shape business strategies to incorporate new opportunities. The other Tomorrow's Leaders Group co-chair, Paul Polman of Procter & Gamble, has discovered that developing a successful strategy for Pure, the company's low-cost water purifier sachets, is a big challenge.
If you realize that over 1 billion people don't have access to clear drinking water, you can see the enormous potential of Pure. The difficulties that we simply encountered in making Pure a commercial model is that the Western, I'll call it developed, standards of success simply don't apply to Pure. The product is sold for 1 cent per liter of clear drinking water, and the conventional marketing distribution costs to establish a product are simply too high to make it profitable. We haven't figured out that economic model yet. The consumer normally doesn't associate their diseases with the drinking water. So to get her to understand that she or he needs the clean drinking water, to get them to use the products properly, simply involves a cost that is tremendous. Often in parts of the world where we don't have an infrastructure or a distribution system to make it viable. So we took a different tack as we learn. We've actually made 300 million liters of pure, if you want to, clean water available, and the disaster reliefs. We work with other organizations to just distribute the products, often for free. The tsunami relief is a wonderful example of that. But we're also working with other organizations to see if we can get more of a sustainable model, working with infrastructures that are on the ground. International Council of Nurses would be an example. The Center for Disease Control, the Population Services International. Those are organizations that have established structures on the ground, and we're trying to see if we can distribute the products through them on an ongoing basis.
Finding business models that work in poorer regions is just one of the dilemmas businesses face in trying to create business opportunities that solve problems. These solar panels are meeting the energy needs of a village in the Philippines, as solar energy could for many remote parts of the developing world. But it comes at a price impoverished villagers cannot pay. So they are only installed when governments, aid agencies or companies foot the bill. Another dilemma for renewable energy is that it can rarely compete with oil, gas and coal, but the other alternative, nuclear energy, raises its own issues.
Within CLP we have a mixture of fossil fuel and non-fossil fuel. Within the non-fossil fuel component we have both nuclear and renewable. They're not mutually exclusive at all. Renewables, frankly, are not economic in today's environment, notwithstanding the comments that some green groups say that we should all go renewable. Nuclear is, however, economic, broadly speaking, with fossil fuel prices. Having said that, though, all kinds of issues with nuclear, in particular safety, nuclear proliferation, what to do with the waste fuel, which is still not resolved. Are we going to leave a legacy for future generations that they will look back and say, that our grandfathers have created this huge problem for us. So there's still a lot of issues to deal with nuclear, but climate versus nuclear, that's the balance that the world's going to have to face. Fossil fuels versus non-fossil fuels.
The environmental and social impact of an investment only becomes clear in the long term, and the Tomorrow's Leaders Group believe that companies have to use long-term measures as well as short-term results in assessing their success. The financial markets are also increasingly taking note of longer-term and non-financial aspects of companies' work, with some investors looking hard at companies' green credentials, for example.
Socially responsible investments is all about taking into account more than just the financial and other traditional elements when evaluating a company. Examples may be the environmental effects of the company, the social effects of the company, and whether or not the company runs their business according to acceptable international standards, for instance, when it comes to taking care of their workforce. This gives us an ability to, on a broader base, establish a platform for investment decisions.
In looking at how businesses can resolve global issues, the Tomorrow's Leaders Group has been asking a very basic question. What are businesses for? Can companies make a difference while still making healthy profits?
Success is a complex thing to grasp, but I do think that in the end it will come down to companies which are operating on a global scale, producing sort of better and better products for more and more people in the world, where both the people and the companies have advantage from those products being produced. And so, my own sense of what success looks like is, better and better products to more and more people to everybody's advantage, and that would be a great outcome.